Good evening. Welcome. We're going to wait a few moments and let everybody jump in. I apologize for the mishap last night. I hope everyone was able to view the video that I had posted on text message dealing with driving in bad weather. So hopefully people are going to pop on tonight. It looks like we've got 7 people. Make sure that you sign in on your phone, that I know that you're here. I had some of you sign in last night. I was really impressed that you signed in when you started to watch the video. So please let me know what's going on, that you're here. I was really worried that I was going to get home tonight and I was going to turn on my computer here and I would see the screen that I saw last night saying, please put in your email and password to enter into Ecamm. So what you're seeing right now is Ecamm. And this is the program that I use for broadcasting on YouTube Live. So just wait for everybody to jump in. I'll tell you the story behind it. I have an Apple computer, and they have a new operating system, Big Sur. And yesterday afternoon when I was home at lunch, I decided I would update my operating system. And I did that probably around 3 o'clock when I left the house to go drive, or actually 2:30 to go drive. And when I got home last night, it just clogged up everything. All passwords and emails for logging into things just got frozen. So I was frantically, during last night's class, when I told you to watch the video, I was emailing the company asking them, please let me know, how can I get in? I have to teach my class. I just got a basic response saying, we're not here, we'll get to it in the morning. So I had no idea until this morning what it was going to look like, whether I was going to be able to get on for today. But sure enough, a couple of emails back and forth during the day. They reset, gave me a new, I gave them a different email address and I put in a different password. So hopefully I see your names up there. So I am assuming you can hear me, you can see me, and everything is good. Hard to believe, Wednesday. So tonight's topic, yesterday was all on driving in bad weather. You do know that we are going to be entering some of the worst driving weather in the next couple weeks. It's always worst at the beginning of winter rather than the end of winter. Reason being, no one has changed their driving habits. No one has changed their tires. No one has gotten their car ready for winter driving. So the first couple snowstorms, pretty rough for everybody, more so for new students. Once people start getting their car all ready for winter and they get used to changing their speeds and their braking habits change, then driving in the winter is really not that bad. It really isn't. The only thing, and I don't know, and I can't remember what I said during, the recording that I did for that class, but the smartest drivers are the drivers that know when to drive and when not to drive in bad weather. Now, I don't care what type of driver you are, how good you think that you are, there comes a time when just people shouldn't be out on the road, okay? So my word of wisdom to you, driving in bad weather, be smart. If you don't have to do it, don't do it. If you do have to do it, take the precautions, and I gave you a whole list of things that you can do, recommended speeds, how to get your car ready. Be under advisement, okay? If you do that, then you'll be able to work your way through most snowstorms to get to where you want to go. But it's not a time to just go out for, to the mall, to the movies, stuff like that. Put it off for a day or two. Whoa, what happened? Something just, okay. I just saw a flash. I think we're still good. Okay. All right. Let's do some house cleaning about driving. I do have one opening tomorrow night, I think at 4 o'clock. I do have something on Friday. I'm going to get back to somebody that texted me about Saturday afternoon. I might be able to squeeze a few people in. I will be driving right up to Wednesday. All right. Thursday's Thanksgiving. Friday, I'm not too sure. We'll have to see where we're at. The other thing that we've got to think about is, since we're going to be finishing up next week, I've got to retrieve the textbooks from you. And you need to, once you complete your driving and have completed the classroom, I need to get paperwork to you. So I think we're going to deal with that on an individual basis. So when you drive with me, we'll have to have a short talk about how we're going to end things and kind of hand back a material. I will also need you to sign a parent observation form. Okay, so I want you to make sure that you remind me and say, Mr. Toll, I haven't received the parent observation form. The state has been getting after, I guess, driving schools that haven't had this in their file. So I do have to keep a file of what you do for homework, attendance, the best I can. I've done that. So the state wanted to make sure that you were actually here, that you did your work, that you did relatively well on your midterm and your final, really the final more so than the midterm. So I do have to keep things together, and the parental observation is one of them. Not many of you did your road rage article, okay, and your reactionary situation about road rage. And I really want to kind of start tonight's class about talking about road rage, and then we'll get into alcohol and drugs a little bit. So let me get into the PowerPoint that we're going to do with road rage. So let me, if I can find it. Where did it go? There we go. Okay. So I want you to take out some notes. And by the way, yesterday's class that you had to watch that I sent to you, there's going to probably be 6 to 8 questions on the final from last night's class. A lot dealing with snow, fog, rain, fatigue driving. I think I covered fatigue last night. I can't remember. Some classes I don't get to it because it's at the very end. Road rage is a prominent problem out on the roadway. We're finding that, especially in this day and age, with people being home more, being in a mask, it's really hard not to take your personality with you out on the roadway. I mean, think about it. You are who you are. So if you're a laid-back person, you're going to be a laid-back driver. If you're on edge, if you're aggressive with people, if you're loud, kind of in their face, always trying to give people a piece of your mind, well, that's going to carry over into driving. And hopefully you won't be a victim. The thing that I wanted you to do with the article is just to find how outrageous people can actually be. The other thing I wanted you to start thinking about, and I wanted you to do a reactionary paragraph about it, is that every situation, there are always options. You should always be thinking about what could have been done differently. What should I have done in that situation? And, not to sound like a parent, but I am one. Your parents have probably told you 2 wrongs don't make a right. And that, life is full of consequences. You make a choice. Okay, you're choosing what your outcome is going to be. Everything that we do in life is based upon choices. So the choices that you're making, you will get your outcomes based upon your choices. And driving aggressively in road rage is one of them. All right. So let's kind of take a look at a few things. And I'm not going to show you all the videos that I normally do because I just want to kind of go over that. I already showed you that one. I do want you to write down these two terms, anger and mad. I want you to realize that human emotion, anger and madness, is normal. Okay, we always think that anger is a bad thing. Sometimes you should be angry. It prompts you to make things different. It prompts a situation to be looked at, especially with injustice. So I want you to write down, anger is a strong feeling of annoyance, displeasure, or hostility. Now, madness, or being mad, is being completely unrestrained by reason and judgment. And this is where people are throwing a tantrum. The thing that comes to mind is probably a young child that doesn't get what they want. They fall to the ground, kick their feet, scream, holler. Okay, that's how a child acts. Well, guess what? There are a lot of 30-year-old children out there on the roadway where they beep their horn, flip off people, scream and holler, get too close. It's the same thing, just the adult form of the tantrum. And the state is out there patrolling, making sure that people are actually, hopefully, driving the way that they should. It's called aggressive driving. Here's a situation where a woman was flipped off. I guess she was going too slow. And the person that flipped her off further down the road had some type of mechanical problem, and her Jeep flipped and went off on the side of the road. She actually needed someone's help. Now, this woman who got flipped off, this woman with the child up there in the picture, could have driven by and said, serves you right. That's karma, Serves you right. You flipped me off. I'm not going to help you. But she did the right thing. She pulled over the side of the road and she helped the other person. That's maturity. That's being the better person. Don't let other people change what you know to be right. Okay, always do the right thing. Why do people suffer from road rage? Well, they're late to work. They like to go fast. They're very careless in what they look for before they pull out into traffic, so they don't see traffic, so they cut people off. There's tailgaters. They get upset about being passed. Taking someone's parking spot can actually, throw people into a fit of madness. I'm not going to show you this one. That was from Malcolm in the Middle. But what I wanted you to see is that people are actually using their vehicles to prove a point. They'll actually crash into another car. They'll damage their own car just to say, you're not going to take this parking spot, so I'm going to hit you in the back. And both people have dented bumpers now. People will follow you right to where you work, where you live. There will be physical confrontations. They'll get right in your face. Now, most or all states have some type of force where they're going to give you tickets. And in some states, you can even do jail time for tailgating and aggressive behavior. So don't think it's just a slap on the wrist. Depending on where you are, it can be pretty bad. So this I want you to write down. These next two slides I think are really important. The first part is that it's a mental perception. It changes what you perceive as important. Why is it that some people can see a situation and not be upset and someone else totally flips out? It's the same situation, but it's the way that they're interpreting what they see. So it is mental. It is up in your head. And driving is very much what you see and what you think before you do something. And when you start to get angry behind the wheel, you do become preoccupied. You're more concerned about teaching that person a lesson rather than thinking about, I got to get to school or I got to get to work. And it does take time to overcome. Don't think you're going to jump right behind the wheel of the car, get angry, and then 2 minutes later, it's gone. For some people, it lingers. How many of you know somebody who has done you wrong? Maybe it was a brother or a sister or a parent, and you could be upset at them all day. From early in the morning till late at night, you won't talk to them, you won't look at them. It takes time. It takes time. So when you're behind the wheel of the car, it could take 10, 15 minutes before you forget about the person that just cut you off. But that's the way you got to look at it. You got to look at, I'm just going to do what I need to do, and I'm not going to think about what just happened. Physically, you're going to change. Blood pressure, heart rate. Your muscles are going to get really tense. Body language. I can always tell when my son is angry at my wife. I can just look at his face. I can look at his shoulders, how his shoulders will start to rise up. Okay, I can just tell the way his mouth kind of makes a, change of rising up. It's obvious when you know people that they're physically affected by this. So be careful when you're behind the wheel. Solutions. Why did it happen? Maybe you contributed the problem. Maybe you didn't put your signal on. That's why they cut you off. They thought you were going straight and you didn't, and they pulled out. Maybe you are going too slow. Remember that after something happens, you can't change the situation. You can only make things better. You don't want to make them worse. And there is never a reason for payback. Ever. Okay? Ever. Payback in a car. Never should happen. Report it. Okay? That's how an adult would deal with aggressive behavior. Get a description of the vehicle, license plate number or something, and report it. Don't follow the person to where they work or where they live. Basically, just control what's happening. Breathe, relax, pull over, whatever you need to do to make the situation better. Now, I am going to show you one ABC special on road rage. I think it's about 7 or 8 minutes long. I thought they did a really good job, and you're going to see some pretty strange behavior of people and their driving. So let me cue this up.
We all have it in us, even if we don't know exactly where it is. A limit, a breaking point, a dark place where civilization ends and animal instinct takes over. And there may be no faster way to get there than right here, on the roadways of America at the intersection of velocity and violence.
We have 2 victims here.
You've seen the stories leading your local news.
Another case of road rage.
And polluting YouTube. What feels like a daily diet of road rage reports. Just last week, this shocking video of an incident on a California freeway leading to a multi-car crash.
Call 911, Chris.
Nearly half of all drivers surveyed have experienced some form of road rage. Here in Denver, the Mile High City, drivers have hit new lows. Local officials reporting deadly traffic crashes have been slowly creeping up for several years.
We know you're fed up. So are we.
We came to see for ourselves. It didn't take long for us to find it. Rocky Mountain Rage.
Golly, that guy. He was like almost in our lane.
You want reasons? Look around. The city's rush hour turns freeways into ant farms. It's a stop-and-go sea of brake lights.
Yeah, it's not moving up there.
What typically should be a 30-minute commute can take nearly an hour and a half, enough to turn any driver into a ticking time bomb.
I was surprised at how bad the traffic is in Denver.
It's heavy, it's crowded, and it's aggressive.
Captain Jeff Goodwin of the Colorado State Patrol is fighting the uphill battle against an army of hot-tempered motorists.
Don't touch me!
There is that group of individuals that get up helter-skelter every morning. They're never on time. So now they're running late and they've got to make up that time. So how do they do it? They do it by pushing people out of the way, cutting them off, changing from the inside left lane all the way to the exit ramp right as they get there.
Goodwin believes he's pinpointed the root of the problem. With more than 100,000 people transplanting to Denver every year, it's as simple as too many metal machines, not enough pavement.
I used to think it was something like people cutting you off. But you know, one of the things that people really get angry about, if somebody honks the horn at you because you've sat too long at a light, I think they literally go from the Dr. Jekyll to Mr. Hyde.
Around the country, it's not just gangbangers and street thugs mixing it up. It could be any of us. Take a look at these guys in business attire doing the WWE SmackDown. We showed the good Captain Goodwin some examples of bad behavior, and he provided us some potentially life-saving road rules to help you. Rule number 1, don't make eye contact.
This motorist is out of control. And this victim is doing all the right things.
Just stare ahead, don't engage.
Right. Yeah, the minute you engage, who knows where this goes?
Rule number 2, never approach the window.
All right, wow, okay. This is more than over the top because now you have a gun involved.
So you're gonna pull your gun out? What kind of...
You never know who's packing heat.
Exactly.
Is approaching someone's window ever a good idea?
Never do it.
And most important, rule number 3, you don't always have to win.
Looks like it's gonna be over.
But as we see in this case from Houston, the parties involved just can't help themselves.
And here we go. There you go.
I mean, now they're at full-blown fist fight.
Right, this is what happens. It gets worse. The longer this goes, the worse it's gonna get.
It looks like they just need to win the argument.
That's what it is.
It was 4:15 when we hit the road with Goodwin and his team. They prowled the interstate looking for bad behavior.
We're looking for aggressive drivers.
Triggers. Which often lead to the road rage we see on the news.
This is a 75 mile.
Well, we're doing 17 and a 75 at rush hour.
I got a lady who was texting if you want to pull her over.
Within minutes, Goodwin's team has spotted a common breed, a texter at the wheel. Goodwin says distracted driving, the #1 offense that sends drivers into road rage.
And how does that end up leading to road rage?
Well, when she's texting, she's not paying attention to everybody else out here.
Next, we cross paths with a Leadfoot speedster, the deadliest kind of aggressive driver.
I could see him in the rearview mirror weaving in and out. He was trying to find that opening.
And that's when people get mad.
Right.
It was now 5:45, the road rage witching hour.
Yeah, we're pulling out.
Goodwin says the peak time for trouble. And the cops had busted this aggressive driver for skipping the off-ramp and blazing her own trail altogether.
Right now, there's a warrant for your arrest.
Her prize? Some new bracelets and a ride in the fast lane to the county clink.
She doesn't have a valid driver's license either, so that's been canceled and denied, so she shouldn't be driving anywhere.
We'd found ourselves at a notorious hotspot.
So this is the frontage road where we have a lot of our issues.
And got a dose of full frontage fury.
So people will be frustrated, they'll come off the frontage road, and then they actually will do this, believe it or not. They will drive here,
Holy cow, this is so steep.
and they will find that steep drop down to the interstate, and they will bounce their way back down into Interstate 25. All because they're angry about sitting in traffic. Off-roading on I-25.
Yeah.
As Friday rush hour traffic mounts once again, we spot this guy who thought he could make up time bypassing all the drivers ahead of him, riding along the road's shoulder. But he's going nowhere fast today.
Over here.
Hey, sir, do me a favor and stay in your car while we do this business, okay? You passed about 7 or 8 cars going alongside them on the right. You went over the white shoulder. That's not a lane for turning. It's not a lane for passing.
Like many road rogues, this guy's idea of defensive driving is making excuses for his alleged moving violations. He even called 911 to complain about being pulled over.
He stopped me first on the train track with the train coming down the road.
And now that he's caught, he's upset, just is not in agreement at all with what's going on here. So that's his beef.
There goes a guy. There he goes.
Next, check out this blue truck. The driver has jumped the median, passing up other cars, hightailing it the wrong way into oncoming traffic. Captain Goodwin pulls him over, hand on the holster.
What was it? You're not getting in the car.
I haven't seen anybody drive that aggressively in years. He's doing about 90 miles an hour. He damn near hit several cars back there.
I charged him with reckless driving. He just didn't plan on having any law enforcement around to stop him today.
You don't think it's just a Y chromosome thing.
You see a lot of aggressive driving from both sexes.
Everybody drives crazy.
Yeah, it's
So you can see that the people's behavior is pretty outrageous. And that's just in one afternoon. Of course, it was kind of a heavy populated area. So when traffic is kind of heavy, it does tend to bring out the worst in people. It's almost like, it's a sure sign you're going to see people, do some stupid stuff when but when traffic is kind of light, we don't see that, much behavior quite like that. But when it's bad, yeah, we do. So hopefully that gives you some light, and hopefully none of you will become like that. So I just wanted to do a little bit about road rage before we get into the topic of alcohol and drugs tonight. So let's talk about alcohol and drugs. What I want you to do right now is make 2 circles. See if I can get this right. Make a circle and put driving in the inside. Draw another circle, put drinking in the inside. Now, you are in driver's ed. You are in the process of getting your license. We're so close to getting that driver's license. So your world of driving is taking hold right now. It's forming. You're going to be a licensed driver within weeks. The other circle, drinking. What is the legal age in every state? 21. Getting a license is 16. So if I do the math, 16, get my license, legally can drink at 21. That's about a 5-year period. Man, I don't even have to worry about drinking and driving. Hopefully not. Hopefully not. Not with you behind the wheel. What I want you to do in the comments for YouTube, I don't want you to make this personal. I want you to answer the question, do you know someone under the age of 21 that consumes alcohol? All right? So I want you to do that while I kind of give you a little bit of a breakdown of things. So write that down in the comments. Let's see how many of you know somebody that drinks alcohol under the age of 21. The state wants driver's ed instructors to do at least 2 classes on drinking and driving and drugs. Now, alcohol is a little bit more prevalent than drugs, although drugs are around. So we're going to highlight mostly alcohol. We'll touch on a little bit about drugs. If you've ever taken Q's class, some of this will probably seem somewhat familiar to you. But we're going to try to put it in the context of driving, because that's what's going to happen. Now, even if you do not know anybody that drinks alcohol that's under the age of 21, you probably know adults that drink alcohol, and that's legal for them to do it. But the question is, how much alcohol can I consume and still get behind the wheel and not get in trouble or have a crash? How effective of a driver will I be with alcohol in my system? So we're going to talk about all these things. So the remainder of tonight's class, and look at all these people that are writing, they know people under the age of 21 that consumes alcohol. I will tell you, and some of you probably have tried alcohol, and I'm not going to get into the debate, morally about drinking with your parents and things like that. But I will say the way that's written, okay, in the law books for every state, 21 in every state, okay, that is the limit or the legal age of consumption and purchase of alcohol. Will the police raid your house if your parents are giving you wine at Thanksgiving? Of course not. Okay. Do they still give wine out at church services? They do. All right. So we're not going to get into the debate of what's going to happen with your parents inside your house. What we're going to talk about, what's going to happen when you get out on a public roadway in your vehicle, whether you're a passenger or a driver, because I want to tell you that there are consequences if you are a passenger in a vehicle and there's alcohol or you've been drinking. Okay, you got to remember you are still under the age of 21. So we have found, studies have shown, and this is why we bring this up, by the time that you are 15 to 16 years old, probably 60 to 70% of high school students have had some experience with alcohol. Okay, we're not talking about fall down drunk. We're talking about having a sip of it, having one drink, having two drinks. What we're finding is that, and you've probably heard this in health class, that we've got gateway drugs. We've got alcohol, cigarettes, nicotine, and marijuana. Okay, those are the three drugs that people usually start to partake in junior high, high school. Some will get turned off by it. Some of them will go down the road of addiction. And that's the other thing. We're not going to have enough time to really get into that. But I do want to mention that there is a progression to alcohol and drug use. Once you were born, the only thing that you needed was your mother's milk. That's it. And water. Think about it. Hundreds, thousands of years ago, they didn't have Coca-Cola, Pepsi, iced tea, all these fancy drinks that we have, Red Bull, stuff like that. That's all stuff that we've created, all right? So the only thing that you need basically is water and your mother's milk. But as we got older, we started to introduce fruit juice, and then it was, soda, and then alcohol comes into play. But your body doesn't need alcohol. Actually, alcohol is a poison. Your body does not like alcohol. It wants to get rid of alcohol. But what we have found is some people, once they introduce alcohol into their system, they like the effects of it, and then they become addicted to it. So what I want you to write down in your notes, okay? I want you to write down is that alcohol is a progressive disease, all right? It does usually get worse for people, those that really want it and need it, all right? So some of you are going to try it, and you're going to go, it's not for me. I hate it. Don't like it. Others are going to say, I like the effects. I like the taste of it. And you're going to progress. To share a little bit of a background, and I think your parents, I don't know how, they've shared personal experiences with you, or you've seen their behavior around alcohol or whatever. But that's a personal thing, if parents want to share with you. But I will tell you that I come from a household where my parents never drank. I never, ever saw my parents ever bring a glass of alcohol, whether it be at a wedding or a New Year's party or whatever. Never saw them drink, ever. Okay? So I came from a dry household. I was introduced to alcohol by my best friend when I was a sophomore. Okay, soon after I got my license. I was curious. Said, everybody seems to be doing it. It seems to be like they're having fun, so I'll try it. I tried it, and I hated it. I hated the taste of beer. I thought it was horrible, disgusting, and I can remember tipping it over and didn't want to finish it. Now, I was with my best friend at the time. He, on the other hand, his dad was an alcoholic. His dad had a problem with alcohol. Well, my friend liked it, okay? Our lives went in different directions, all right? After that, he went with the party scene. I played sports in high school. I kind of hung out with that group. Well, anyways, back in our 20s, after I was out of college and stuff like that, I always wondered what happened to my friend from high school. He became an alcoholic. He actually died in his 30s from alcoholism. Here I am teaching driver's ed, telling people don't drink and drive. You just never know, when you out of curiosity do something, how your life is going to turn out. So I just want you to know that as you get older, now that you're going to be having your license, be very, very careful about the experimenting thing. Be very, very careful around friends that say, you know, come on, give it a try, do it, do it, do it. Okay, you got to stand up, and you know what's right. You know you're not supposed to be drinking till you're 21. You know that certain drugs are illegal. You're not supposed to have them on your person. You're not supposed to, consume them at all. You know right from wrong. So don't let the curiosity, the fun factor. I will tell you the negative aspects from drugs and alcohol by far are worse than the few moments of feeling like you're one of the crowd, feeling part of the party, feeling the euphoria that comes with maybe taking a drug. Because remember, all drugs have a life, meaning that after a few hours, the drug dissipates in your body, and you're going to have to introduce more. And that's what leads to addiction. So be very careful because you could be going down that road to addiction. I want to show you one quick clip about the first time.
Have a shot.
Here, drink some of this.
Have a shot.
The first time you do it, you put yourself at risk because it takes a toll.
I drink to experiment and also to relieve stress.
There's always a reason to do it. I'm stressed. I don't like my parents.
Everyone that goes to public school does what you see, what you do. You just want to fit in, and you just want to try that out. Why is everybody else doing it? There must be something great about it.
I was 14 years old when I tried weed with my friends.
She had done it before I did, and she showed me and she said it was okay to do it, and she liked it. I tried it.
It was just a new feeling that I needed to explore further.
I started thinking if I only drank on the weekends, I wouldn't get addicted to drinking.
But I don't think I'll get addicted or to any type of drug.
In the beginning, I felt like I was controlling it, but after that, it got out of control. Like as I said before, I was high for 6 months.
It was every day. I'd be back there in the alley smoking weed with everybody else.
I drank so much that I started throwing up my stomach lining.
My health deteriorated. I've lost homes. I've never been able to hold a job. I've lived on the streets. I ended up losing my scholarship in college.
Everything I wanted to be just went down the drain.
I could justify using in order to enjoy myself and other things.
I just felt like I was dying.
They opened the door for us and she was dead on the bed with the needle in her arm.
Gave a shot of adrenaline to his heart, it flatlined it and killed him right there.
But when it's all over, only person that's paying the price is you.
So, as much as running with the cool kids and thinking you're doing a little thing, that's a little bit risky, a little bit of a daredevilish type of thing, it's going to catch up with you, okay? It very rarely is harmless. There's always going to be some negative aspect to it. So what I want you to write down in your notes, I want you to write down positive and negative, long-term, short-term. I want you to understand when it comes to doing something that you know that is wrong, like drinking or doing drugs, and especially getting behind the wheel of the car. I want you to always think about what is the positive long-term? What is the positive short-term from me doing this? Okay, be analytic. Think about it. It doesn't take too long. We're doing it right now. Think about it. If I decide, and tonight's a Wednesday night, let's just say that it's the middle of July now. You've got your license. If I go out with a bunch of friends down to Hampton and we find someone to get us, a six-pack, and we all have a couple, there's 3 of us, what's the positive? I'm going to chill on Hampton Beach. I'm going to, seem like I'm 22, 23 when I'm actually only 16, 17. That's your positive? What's the negative? What's the negative long term? What's the negative short term? Long term, cops are around, pulls you over. You've just lost your license for the next 6 to 9 months. Plus, you got all these fines and fees to pay. You got to go to an alcohol class. What's the negative short term? Oh, my parents are going to kill me. I'm going to be grounded. I'm going to lose, the privilege to use the car. Everything has consequences. So when you make a choice, what's the positive long-term, short-term? What is the negative long-term, short-term? That's what you have to be thinking about. Now, I usually do a group activity. If we were in class, there's a country song by Paisley, Brad Paisley. It's called Alcohol. Seems kind of appropriate for tonight's class, right? And he sings. It's a really funny song. I wish I had it queued up right here. Maybe I'll play it for tomorrow night if I can find it, because it took me all night when I got home to get this up and running again with the new email stuff. But think about this. When you make a decision, we were just saying long-term, positive, long-term, short-term, there has to be a reason why you wanted to go to Hampton Beach with your friends with a six-pack. So think about reasons why people, and I'm going to give you the reasons right now, because if we had a group activity, these are the ones that I find are up near the top. So maybe you want to write a few of these down. Why, and I'm not talking about young people, I'm talking about people in general. So whether you be 17 or 23 or 55 or 80 years old, why do people drink? Okay? To relieve stress. They like the taste of it. They want to socialize. They want to forget about their problems. There's peer pressure, even for adults, even for someone in their 30s and 40s. They may not want to drink it, after, a day's work, but they're out with a bunch of friends, colleagues, and everybody's drinking. They say, oh, come on. What's one going to do? Come on, have one with us, and then you can go home. That's peer pressure. Don't think peer pressure is going to leave once you leave high school. I think it's going to probably even get worse in college and when you're in your 20s, because the stakes are higher. So you're always going to have peer pressure. So those are some of the reasons why people drink. Now, on the flip side, how about the few people out there in the world that don't drink? Aren't there more people drinking than not drinking? Probably. So why aren't those people drinking? They don't like the taste. They're afraid of the consequences, parents or law. Maybe it's religion. Maybe they have a family member that's addicted to alcohol and they don't want to be like them. Maybe they were a drinker and now they're not. They're an alcohol anonymous now. They don't want to drink. So there are many reasons why and many reasons why not. You've got to find out what's behind your actions, what's pushing you in the direction of drinking. And we could use the same discussion with drugs too. The only thing I want you to write down here, and I think you already know this, so if you already know it, and there's no way I could fool you on this, like if I gave you a multiple choice question, alcohol is classified as what type of drug, and if I gave you stimulant, depressant, hallucinogen, over-the-counter, even though you can buy alcohol over-the-counter, it's not really an over-the-counter type of drug, but it is a depressant. It does sedate the brain and the central nervous system, and it slows down body functions. There is no health benefit to drinking. Now, people will debate about red wine and the heart, but there are other ways to make your heart healthy. A heart doctor would never tell a patient, you know what, your heart is kind of irregular, but I think if you had a bottle of wine every night, I think we could cure this. No, what they're saying is that people who normally would have red wine every couple days a week at dinner time, usually their heart was a little bit better shape. Okay, so don't look at what medicine is saying. Okay, don't all of a sudden pick up some of these strange things that people put on Facebook and other places and believe it to be true. Research it, know it. This gets to be kind of complicated, and I don't want you to write everything down here, but I just want to hit this up real quick. you've got to realize that the minute you take a sip, I'm going to get out of here for a second because I do have lemon lime seltzer. This is my go-to drink right here. Okay, seltzer. I love it. The minute you take a sip of something, it gets absorbed in the mouth. Okay, in the lining of your mouth. Now, if I was close to someone right now, you'd go, Mr. Toll, you smell like lime. I go, what? What are you talking about? I don't realize that the flavoring from the seltzer can be sensed by somebody within, a foot to 2 feet away. When you drink alcohol, you may think, no one knows I'm drinking. I'm going to keep this a secret. The school teachers aren't going to know. If they get close enough, they will. Okay? And it's funny, a lot of times you can't smell what is happening to you. Same thing like people that smoke. They swear people don't know that they smell like smoke. They do, especially people that don't smoke. So whether you're smoking cigarettes or pot, it's on your clothing, it's on your hair, it's on the odor of your breath. People know. Stomach, and by the way, if you ever drink alcohol in excess, they pump your stomach. They don't pump your small intestines. So realize that your stomach is a holding tank. This is where alcohol is being stored, and then it starts to seep into the bloodstream through the small intestines, through the pyloric valve. Now, the pyloric valve is kind of an interesting thing because it keeps the alcohol in your stomach and it releases it at a slower rate. So if you drink on an empty stomach, alcohol will go into your small intestines a lot quicker and you become intoxicated faster. You do not want that. You want a slow release of alcohol into your system. Now, you probably may know this, or maybe you don't, but I'm going to skip over this. I want you to, in the comments for YouTube, write down if you've ever been operated on where they've had to put you under. So whether it be the dentist, they had to pull teeth, or whether you were operated in a hospital, write down, yes, I have been put under, that they had to sedate you. Okay, once you put down yes, I want to see how many people I have in the class so it will relate to it. I do want you to write down a liver in your notes. I want you to write down, this is a very simple, very simplistic formula about alcohol and driving, okay? So what I want you to write down is 1 drink, 1 hour. If you consume 1 drink of alcohol, so we're talking about 12 ounces of beer, 5 ounces of wine, 1 ounce of hard liquor. That's all a serving. The basic way to remember this is that if I had a drink, I probably should wait an hour before I get behind the wheel of a car. I have 2 or 3 drinks, I should probably wait 3 hours. Now, you probably have heard of people that have consumed a 6-pack or a 12-pack. People will consume like a lot. So if you've ever had or knew somebody that had a 12-pack, that's 12 hours before alcohol is really getting out of your system. You could stop drinking at midnight and still at noontime the next day, there could be traces of alcohol in your system. So when you start going to a party and you consume a lot of alcohol, it's going to stay with you. Don't think you're going to just be able to hop behind the wheel of the car 5 hours later. You fall asleep at 11 or 12, don't think you're going to get up at 5 or 6 in the morning and drive home and everything's going to be fine. It's not. Now, I've noticed that some people have been put under. Okay, so what I wanted to let you know is that alcohol is the liquid form of ether. Did you know that? So when they put you under in the dentist, the laughing gas, or you're being operated on, when they sedated you, it's just the gas form of alcohol. Because alcohol is ethanol. And ethanol part of that word is ETH, like ether. And ether is the gas that they give you to put you under. This is why there's someone, an anesthesiologist, that is responsible for making sure that they didn't give you too much, because they could put your heart to rest, meaning they could just sedate you so much that you would stop living. We don't want that to happen, but we also don't want you to wake up in the middle of surgery thinking, why is this pain so unbearable? Why are they doing this to me? So this is why they sedate you, so you don't feel pain. The same thing with alcohol. People drink so they don't feel pain. They don't feel pain. They fall down staircases, out windows, break bones, and they have no idea of what has just happened because their body is so heavily sedated. So back to the liver. The liver basically burns up alcohol. That is your filter. That is the most important organ when it comes to drinking alcohol. It cleanses the poison from your body, but at a rate of 1 drink per hour. Okay, you need to know that. Also, your brain will be affected. Within 20-40 minutes of drinking, it will start to feel the effects of alcohol. The more higher percentage of alcohol that's in your system, the more your body is going to be affected by it. All right? I'm going to go skip over this stuff right here. Oh, truth about drinking. I do want to show you that. Let me go back. Okay, let me show you truth about alcohol.
Vodka,
Tequila,
scotch,
beer,
wine, rum,
gin,
whiskey,
alcohol. Alcohol probably took 20 years of my life, and you can't get that back.
Alcohol is a drug, which most people don't think it is, but it actually is. It's classed as a depressant, meaning it slows down vital functions in the body.
Alcohol is made through the fermentation of fruits and grains.
The process of fermentation is basically letting fruit sit and rot until it can produce a mind-altering effect when you drink it.
There's different types of things you can drink that have different amounts of alcohol in them. Like a beer, if you just drink beer, that has 2 to 6% alcohol. Wine is about 8 to 20% alcohol. And then you got your hard liquors, which are like vodka or whiskey, which are about 40 to 50% alcohol.
When someone drinks 2 or more drinks, it acts as a stimulant. When they drink more than that, it acts as a depressant.
If you binge drink, what you're doing is you're just drinking repeatedly over and over large amounts and large quantities of alcohol. If you put that much alcohol in your system at one time, you can get alcohol poisoning, which could lead you to go into a coma or even kill you.
12 years old. I was in the 7th grade.
When I was in 8th grade, I think I was 13 years old.
It became very regular at 14 years of age.
15 years old when I first started drinking.
17 years old, starting going out to parties, doing things like that.
At first, drinking was a sociable thing, you know. I drank with my friends.
Thought I was really cool going out with all the older guys, and I'd try to show off in front of them and drink myself stupid. I just go out and party all night.
By the time I was probably 15 is where I started drinking at school. Putting it in a water bottle, I would take vodka or gin, something clear that looked like water, and I would just drink in class and pop mints in my mouth.
We'd go in, break into his parents' liquor cabinet, fill up our super big gulps full of ice and Everclear, and then stop by 7-Eleven and fill the rest of it up with Coke, and then make it to first period.
I was drinking not just at parties and stuff, but after classes and after work and even at work.
I waited tables, so it was very easy access to alcohol.
It was just hard to say no. It was so readily available, and it was constantly there.
My drug problem wasn't something that happened immediately. It happened so slowly that I missed the fact that I was addicted to it.
It became routine, a way of life.
The only type of people I would hang out with were people who were using drugs or drinking alcohol. And it got to the point where that's all I cared about.
It became far more than just a partying thing. It was a necessity.
Without having alcohol in me, I could not function.
I kind of became a loner because all I ever wanted to do was just drink and drink and drink.
It felt like it was my only friend. Felt like that it was always there for me somewhere. You know, when things were going bad, I could always have a few drinks. Well, for me, it was never a few drinks. It was always a lot of drinks.
I was consuming about 30 beers a day, a whole case of beer,
and 3/4 of a gallon of light rum. I would essentially have that and black out every night.
I could do nothing but drink 24/7, drink, pass out, drink, pass out.
I literally started drinking so much that I would shake if I didn't have a drink.
When I would not drink, I'd get extremely sick. Deathly sick.
Just really achy all over, and you have headaches, and you're so dehydrated that you have no energy.
Alcohol had been, in and out my body so much that it had tore away some of the lining of my esophagus, and blood was creeping in.
I was a physical disaster. I was that far in my addiction of physical withdrawal that when I shut that alcohol intake off, my body tried to shut down.
The actual withdrawal from alcohol can kill you, for one thing, if it's too intense. Your body has no vitamins, or it's dehydrated, and you can have DTs, you can seizure to death. That's terrible.
I got a phone call, that my father was in the hospital and that he was really, really sick, and that he wasn't going to make it. So the next day I got on a plane to go home, and my only way to confront this was to drink alcohol. So I showed up at the airport pretty drunk, and my family, saw me there, and, they didn't know what to say. The worst thing about it is that my father was kept conscious so that he could see me before he passed away. But instead of disgracing his memory, they'd put him on life support.
I had gotten kicked out of this bar for fighting. I was beyond drunk, and I was attacked and raped. And I went home, and I stayed in my apartment for a week. My mom would come knocking on the door. I'd pretend I wasn't home. I felt like it was my fault. I was the one that was at that bar. I was the one that was getting drunk.
I went home, and I had a roommate, and for some reason we got into an argument which resulted in a fight, and the cops got called. I blacked out for part of it, so I couldn't figure out why I was waking up in jail.
I drank some beer there at the bar inside the airport. I just ordered another beer and put my backpack on and started walking through the terminal smoking a cigarette. I didn't care what I was supposed to be doing, and I ended up getting a fight with the police there at the airport, and I woke up in jail. I had staples in my head.
In the military, I woke up and I actually had to crawl on my hands and knees off the flight deck of the carrier because I couldn't walk, and then I got discharged from that and lost a girlfriend and a kid and my whole life.
I drank to blackout one night. Well, sometime about an hour later, I got back up. I went to my bedroom. My wife wasn't there. I went to the girls' bedroom, and they were all in the bed together, basically hiding from me through a blackout. And I decided right then that I couldn't stay there anymore. I was afraid I was going to hurt someone at a blackout.
I haven't had a drink in 3 years, yet I'm reminded daily of my alcohol abuse because of the long-term effects. I have horrible short-term memory, and it makes everyday life very difficult for me. Just remembering names, remembering how to do things.
As a result of alcohol, I had high blood pressure, and I still have it.
It destroys your internal organs, and it can destroy your brain functions, your handwriting, small motor skills. It's definitely a poison.
I have liver pains, bone and muscle aches that just used to not be there, and it's not from age. I'm not that old. I should be in my prime right now, and I've probably aged myself 20 years through alcohol abuse.
Alcohol is slow to kill, but it's the most hideous form of death. If I had known how sneaky and dangerous and insidious alcohol is, if somebody had kind of told me, and if I had known that it's not this symbol for a good time, I think that would have made a difference.
It's not like some of the other drugs that instantly after your first time you're hooked and you're addicted to it. A lot of times, most of my friends didn't even like the taste of beer when they first started drinking.
It started out as something that was fun, something we did on weekends. How it progressed to an everyday, all-day thing is beyond me. I have no answer to that. I do not understand how that happened, but it did.
It's nothing but misery. The last 12, 13 years of my life, I've spent probably over $500,000, and over 4 or 5 years of that has been institutionalized, whether it be in a alcohol treatment rehab facility or, incarcerated.
Alcohol's just as bad, if not worse, than heroin or barbiturates or anything else. I don't know, if 60% of people go out to drink and get drunk, chances are that they're going to lead to something else and they're going to end up on a downward spiral.
I may not be very old, but I have definitely seen some hellish things from alcohol. To be honest, I didn't think someone could get to the point that I was at my age. I thought that took years and years, but no, downward spiral.
It might seem fun at the beginning, but after you get stuck in that lifestyle for years, you realize how not fun it is. It's terrifying.
Boy, doesn't that sound like a whole lot of fun, going out and drinking. Now, their stories is enough to make you run away from alcohol. I kind of laughed when I heard the guy, when I first saw this video. I wish someone would have told us. You've got to be kidding me. What, did you grow up under a rock? What do you mean, I wish someone would have told us? Okay, you weren't listening. Okay, from the time that you were probably in junior high, people have been telling you about the effects of alcohol and drugs. We just choose not to listen. And the same thing about like tonight's class. Okay, we're talking about driving and drinking, and I'm going to be a long memory, distant memory for most of you in the next year or two. I'm hoping that I would have some impact on how you're going to treat driving, some of the things you do behind the wheel of the car, and hopefully after tonight and tomorrow night, you're going to think, well, you know what? I don't want this to happen to me. Now that I know what could happen to me, now that I've learned it, you're going to make good choices. So I'm hoping that I can shape your mindset and your belief systems when it comes to making choices around alcohol and drugs and driving. So just to kind of reinforce about what's going to happen to your body, I want you to write this down, and do not write everything down. I want you to understand that, as I told you, that alcohol is the liquid form of ether, like they operate on you. So these are the clinical signs and symptoms of what alcohol will do to your body. So what I'd like you to do is to write the top title. So in this case, and by the way, BAC stands for blood alcohol content or concentration. In some states, you'll see BAL, blood alcohol level. They all mean the same thing. It's the dilution of alcohol per parts to blood. So at a 0.01, 0.05, I want you to write that down, 0.01, 0.05, you're basically sober, which means it looks like you're normal. There is no reason to believe that you have any traces of alcohol in your system. If you get close enough, you might be able to smell the alcohol, but to see someone walk, talk, act, these are people that have probably had 1, 2, maybe 3 drinks. And by the way, you could probably be behind the wheel of the car and you're fine. So as you know, your parents, if they do drink, they've had something to drink at a meal, and they've gotten behind the wheel of the car and you didn't feel bad. You didn't feel unsafe. That's fine. But let's take a look at some of the other BACs. Now that's going to get a little bit different. 0.03 to 0.12. And by the way, 0.08, if you haven't done your reading in your manual, make sure that you do that. Also, make sure that you read Chapter 18 in Responsible Driving. But you need to realize that in every state, 0.08 is proof of legal intoxication. That means you could be driving like a saint down the road, but you have a headlight out, and they pull you over because of the headlight, but they smell the alcohol. Now they have reason to believe that you shouldn't be behind the wheel of the car. So if you blow a 0.08, they can arrest you for drinking and driving. Yeah, but I didn't hit anybody. I didn't do anything wrong. No. But you were behind the wheel of the car at that level. You've got to realize the state does not want you behind the wheel at a 0.08 or above. Now, for minors, it's 0.02, and we're going to talk more about that tomorrow night. But what I want you to write down, another word for euphoria is buzzed. If you've ever tried alcohol, after 1 or 2 drinks, you start to feel your body change a little bit. You just do. You do feel different. You may be a little bit more giddy, laughable. So you're more sociable. You talk maybe more. You have increased self-confidence. This is where people drink and they want to stay. They want to be in this level right here, pretty close to, you don't want to go over the legal limit, but a lot of people want to get pretty darn close to it. 0.06, 0.07. And if you're not driving, you're probably going to be fine. You're not going to be, falling down drunk. But this is people that like to go out and have a good time. Now, the next slide, everyone's over the legal limit now. At a 0.09, everybody in every state. 0.25, so we're talking 3 times the legal limit. What is your body like? Decreased inhibitions, which means you do stuff that you would normally do. This is the guy at a party standing on a table with a lampshade on his head singing his favorite Justin Bieber song. Okay, he normally would not do that. Loss of critical judgment, impaired memory, decreased sensory responses, which means that you call out their name, they don't respond to you, they don't hear it. Muscular incoordination. I will tell you right now, and I'm going to get out of here for a second. If you ever want to look, and I wish I could do like a Zoom thing here. If you want to see what you would look like at this level, no lie, I'm telling you the truth. If you want to see what you would look like at this level, 0.09 to 0.25, what you need to do, and I'm not going to do it because I'm sitting down, but if I was to stand up and spin around in my chair right here as fast as I could, 10 to 12 times, just spin around in this chair and then try to walk, that's what I would look like at that intoxication level. So if you want to take a look at what you look like at this level, spin around 10 times and then try to walk. That's what you would look like. At a 0.18, 0.30, now you notice that we're seeing some overlapping of these numbers. And you say, well, why are the numbers overlapping? Well, some people's behavior will be a lot worse at lower levels, like they could be underweight, they could be female, they could have some chemical imbalances. When they introduce alcohol, the effects will be multiplied. So there has to be kind of a blending of some of these numbers. Dizziness, disorientation, exaggerated emotional states, altered sense of perception, decreased sense of pain. Okay, definitely you don't want to be at that level. Now, the next level, I want you to write down a couple things here. I want you to write down 0.27, 0.40. Now, a stupor, most people don't know what that means. But most people know what they don't move. When it says general inertia, approaching paralysis, approaching paralysis means that you're not moving. Imagine someone that has had too much to drink and they're sitting in a chair and you're trying to urge them to stand up and they don't. You grab their arm and you try to pull them up and it feels like they're twice their weight. You get them up and they fall back down into the seat. They're at this level. Now, this is what I want you to write down, and I want you to remember this. This is one of the most important things that you will learn tonight. I am telling you, if you ever see someone that cannot stand up, does not respond to their name being called, you have to call 911. This is an emergency situation. I don't care if they're 16, 17, 18. I don't care if their parents are out of state. They need medical help. There is nothing worse than young teenagers at a party that think, oh, we're going to get in trouble if we don't, if we call the 911 number and get the ambulance out here. Well, if you don't call 911, the person that is not getting up could die. Now you're in a lot of trouble. Don't sacrifice a person's life for a chance to get off on having a party. If you're having a party or being part of a party, things just went south and things are wrong, be responsible now. Now, I don't think I have this. I'll try to find it. I think I did it for the previous class that I did. Penn State was hazing a freshman, and he had too much to drink, and he fell down to the bottom of the stairs at the fraternity house, and they left him there all night long thinking, oh, he'll just sober up in the morning. You know, what a stupid freshman, you know, drank too much. Well, guess what? He died. No one helped him. People stepped over him all night long, and no one called. His parents sued Penn State. They sued every member of that fraternity, people that were at that party. It should have never happened. Be responsible. And by the way, one of the most important four-letter words that you'll know when you're at a party is Uber or Lyft. There is no reason, or taxi, there's another four-letter word. There is no reason why you should let people get behind the wheel of a car that's been drinking. Not nowadays. When your parents were younger in high school, and if they grew up in a rural area like Durham and Lee, there were no taxis. There's still no taxis. There's only Lyft and Uber. So people were left with, am I going to call my parents and get in trouble? Or am I going to try to find the least intoxicated person here at the party and have them drive me home? Or am I going to sleep in my car? You have choices to make. You've got to make sure that you do the right thing. Lastly, coma and death. You are basically putting yourself to death. Like I said, when you're being operated on, they have an anesthesiologist there to make sure that your vital signs stay where they're supposed to be. Because if they get bad, you basically will flatline and you will die on the table. This is why it's so expensive to be operated on, because they got to make sure they got someone that's really good at this stuff. But how many people do you know that would go to a party and go, hey, wait a minute there, Johnny. This is your 7th drink. You're getting up around that point, 30%. You're gonna be near paralysis pretty. Nobody does that. Nobody keeps track of how much you've had to consume. You don't even remember, and you're the one that's sucking it down. Let me show you how the body and the brain works.
It may be legal, but it is still a drug. Be safe, be sensible, know your limit. Alcohol is a drug too. Think before you drink. Your body belongs to you. The purpose of this presentation is to help you understand the impact that alcohol has on your brain and the damage it can do. Our goal is to provide you with information which will enable you to make informed choices in relation to safe alcohol consumption. Did you know? Healthy people metabolize alcohol at a fairly consistent rate. As a rule of thumb, a person will eliminate 1 standard drink or 10 mils of alcohol per hour. And remember, it's not how many drinks you have, but how much alcohol you consume. Several factors influence this rate, including gender, age, height, weight, general health, the presence of food in the stomach, the concentration of alcohol in the drink, and prescription or illicit drugs taken by the person. It's the blood alcohol concentration, or BAC, which is the key to why we are affected by alcohol. Basically, your blood alcohol concentration is the relationship between the total amount of alcohol in your system divided by total body water, because alcohol is dissolved and diluted in water. So that's also why drinking lots of water with any alcohol consumption is a really good thing. The BAC and the effects of alcohol go up when the body is taking in alcohol faster than it can metabolize it. For example, if you binge drink and consume a 750ml bottle of rum or 3 bottles of wine, that's around 26 standard drinks, between 6 p.m. and 2 a.m, your body will need until sometime around 6 p.m. the next day to process and get rid of the alcohol. And that's why driving or operating equipment the next day is not only illegal, but just crazy, particularly when you consider what this is doing to your brain. Let me explain. Alcohol enters the body and ends up in the stomach, at which point about 20% is absorbed immediately, and the other 80% is absorbed in the small intestine. The heart then pumps the absorbed alcohol to every part of the body, including the central nervous system, which consists of the brain and spinal cord, and it gets to the brain really fast. So that's why even after just one drink you can feel lightheaded or relaxed. Alcohol acts primarily on the nerve cells within the brain and interferes with communication between nerve cells and all other cells, slowing everything down. And that's why when we drink even a little, we experience the effects of alcohol on our emotions, judgment, balance, memory, speech, and anger levels, just to name a few. Did you know that your brain is still developing until you're around 20 to 25? So we need to be really careful because alcohol can do some irreversible damage to various parts of our brains. For example, drinking affects the cerebral cortex, which controls our senses, and inhibitory centers, which is why when you drink, you become more talkative, more self-confident, and less socially inhibited. It also controls our thought processes, so alcohol affects our ability to make good judgment or think clearly. The brain's frontal lobes are important for planning, forming ideas, making decisions, and using self-control. So when alcohol affects the frontal lobes of the brain, you may find it hard to control emotions and urges, and you may act without thinking, and even sometimes become violent or act completely out of character. Does this sound familiar? The cerebellum is important for coordination, thinking, and being aware. So again, you may have trouble with these skills when alcohol affects the cerebellum. That's why people affected by alcohol sometimes can't walk properly or lose their balance and fall. The hippocampus is the part of the brain where memories are made. So when alcohol reaches the hippocampus, you may have trouble remembering something you just heard, or even worse, have a blackout and not be able to remember what you did last night. If alcohol damages the hippocampus, you may find it hard to learn or remember things in the future. The hypothalamus is a small part of the brain that does an amazing number of the body's housekeeping chores. After a person drinks alcohol, blood pressure, hunger, thirst, and the urge to urinate increases, while body temperature and heart rate decreases. And finally, the medulla controls the body's automatic actions, such as your heartbeat. It also keeps the body at the right temperature. Because alcohol chills the body, drinking a lot of alcohol outdoors in cold weather can cause a person's body temperature to fall below normal. This dangerous condition is called hypothermia. Your body belongs to you. Get the facts. Alcohol is unsafe for the developing brain. Alcohol can damage your brain forever. The long-term functioning and health of your brain depends on the choices you make today. Your responsible attitude toward alcohol can have a positive influence on your friends and family. Your body belongs to you. Take care of it. It's the only one you have.
So you can see how the brain is, just as we had mentioned about how it affects just basic body functions. And a lot of times we don't think about that. We just think about we're out with friends, we're having a good time. We're not thinking about what's going to be like in the next hour or two. Part of what I want you to do for your homework, so I want you to write this down, is I want you to go online. And I want you to kind of find an alcohol-related crash in a vehicle where there was a BAC mentioned. I want you to take a look at what we just talked about, what we learned. Who's behind the wheel of some of these cars? Are they just barely over the legal limit, or are they really extremely off the limit? This woman has the highest record that I could find. And if you take a look at the second paragraph, I think it's the second sentence, her BAC level, most everybody would be dead. Hers was registered at a 0.708. 0.708. That is the highest I've ever seen. Now, she was passed out in a car, and so I don't think she was actually driving, but she did get there. She got to wherever the car was. It was a stolen vehicle. And what I want you to realize is that people like this will continue to go out and drink and drive. And if you look at the very last part of this paragraph, at the very bottom, the last paragraph talks about that she was released on bail and she was found drunk again a week later. And now she's being held without bail. But when you have an alcoholic that will continually, even after she's been stopped and given a ticket, will go out the next week and do the same thing, these are the people that are going to get in a serious crash and kill innocent people. And part of what I want you to find, hopefully you will find, is that the articles are of crashes where people were injured and people were hurt. And even though we're talking about don't drink and drive, and we're talking about you personally, wonder if you don't drink. You never will drink. Should you just forget about drinking and driving? No. You've got to think everybody else on the roadway on a Friday, Saturday, Sunday night coming at you that's crossing over the center line. That's a drunk driver or someone under the influence of a drug. What are you going to do? How are you going to handle it? Do you beep your horn? Do you move to the right? Do you move to the left? Do you speed up? Do you report it? These are things that you're going to have to think about because it's important. Just when you think you've heard everything, here's an article that I found 16 years ago where a drunk driver hit a phone pole support wire and decapitated his passenger's head. Now you would think he must have pulled over the side of the road. It was a bad mistake. He was swerved off the edge of the road, hit that wire. His friend had his head out at the time. Oh, that was terrible. If you read the article, he still drove. He drove 12 miles from where it happened. Put his car in his garage, went inside to go to sleep. The trail of blood from his car led to his driveway, to his house. They found the head back at the pole. How can someone be that intoxicated? So find an article. Find an article and give me. Yeah, you're sending it to me. You're going to send me the link or take a picture of it. Because I want you to realize that this isn't just stuff like that 16 years ago. The articles that I hope that you find are within the last year. This is happening all the time. We have to change people's behavior. This just can't happen. Now, I'm just going to show you a quick thing. I want you to realize that people can get help. If you do get addicted to alcohol or drugs, there is help allowed or available for you. Part of treatment when it comes to what the states do, once you get your first or second arrest, the treatment will be more substantial. But we have to let people know that this is not the type of behavior you want to live with for the rest of your life. Let's see if we can turn things around. So what I want you to write down in your notes is I want you to write down that the only way for an alcoholic or a drug addict to get into recovery or to change is to stop. And I know it sounds simplistic, but everybody that's part of Alcohol Anonymous, part of the creed is, I'm an alcoholic, but I choose not to drink now. Or I'm a drug addict, but I just choose not to use now. Because they know if they picked up drug or alcohol again, they would go back to that same behavior. So what I want you to write down is that treatment is available. Even now, you can get it through the high school. You can get it through most communities. They can hook you up with a one-on-one counselor. They can hook you up with Alcohol Anonymous, NA, Narcotics Anonymous. I'm sure there's a lot of religious groups that could help you out. So I want you to realize that never get to a point in your life where you think it's hopeless. I can't change who I am. You can. You can. I want to show you one short little clip of somebody that his life got turned around when he got into treatment.
I started drinking on a daily basis when I was about 14 years old. I had drank alcohol a few times before that, but I started drinking every day in the 9th grade of high school. And I finally left home when I was 16 years old. I just left home, went to Daytona Beach, and stayed there until I turned 17, and I joined the military. I did good. I made rank. I actually went through my first rehab when I was 21 years old. I was about 8 months shy of getting out of the Navy. So drinking definitely, I was good at it. It helped relieve these problems that I had. I could close the doors, whatever. And this went on for years. For 26 years, I drank like that, morning till night. In the morning, it didn't really matter if the beer was cold or not. I just needed it. Sometimes I would just wake up. I think my body would wake me up, to be honest with you. But I would be shaken, and I would go out in the carport, or like I said, go to the refrigerator, grab at least 2 beers, and sometimes I would, the first one would come back up, but then after that it would stay down, and after about 3 or 4, then I could pour a cup of coffee, talk on the phone, start doing what I had to do. My rock bottom came when I was so afraid to drink anymore because I was having blackouts during the day. Couldn't remember talking to clients. I couldn't do finances. I couldn't run my business. I couldn't do anything. And, I just totally thought that I was a failure. I thought that I was no good for anything anymore. I just knew if I didn't get help, it was over. That I would just go home and I would either drink myself to death or my wife would, it would be it. I was very emotionally unbalanced and I was a wreck. And that's how I knew it was it. I definitely hit my bottom. Turning Point gave me the life I think I should have always had. They gave me assignments to do, which I worked on. The biggest thing I started doing was talking, was sharing what was going on with me and how I felt. But
And that's the biggest thing about AA and NA is accountability, having someone to talk to. Once you get to the point where you don't feel like you have control, you don't have hope, and you feel helpless, really there's only two ways you can turn. You're basically going to probably kill yourself in a car or overdosing or whatever, or you're going to just hit bottom and then you're going to turn your life around. So I just want you to realize that there is help out there. And believe me, I've just was really surprised when I heard from a student that I had many, many years ago, 4 or 5 years ago, maybe even more than that, had a situation. And I emailed him or I texted him. I forgot how I got in touch with him. I guess, no, I actually was through Facebook. I sent a private message to him, just giving him some encouragement and people that I know in the field. Because we'll talk about this tomorrow. But for about 5 years, from 96 to 2001, I was the administrator for the first offender program for drinking and driving for the state of New Hampshire. So I was responsible for all the educational classes that were being taught on drinking and driving. So I know some people in the field still, even though it's 20 years ago. But I truly want to see people get help and get better. So I sent them a message. So years from now, if you ever need someone to talk to, I will always be there for someone that needs some help. Tomorrow we'll talk more about penalties. We're going to wrap this up. I'm going to show you one more clip of hitting rock bottom, what could happen as a young person that goes out to a party and drinks and drive. I'm going to show you one sad story about a victim and what happens. And we're going to focus tomorrow on what would happen to me. What is the penalties of drinking and driving? What should I expect to happen with my license? What is going to happen with drugs in the car, or how are they going to know that I'm under the influence of drugs? So tomorrow's class will be more about violations and penalties. Today's was more about how the body is affected by alcohol and things like that. And we also finished up on road rage. So get the articles on road rage to me if you didn't do it. Remember, a road rage article with a reactionary paragraph about how things could have been different. With the alcohol, I want the just a plain alcohol article. You don't even have to respond. I mean, we know they shouldn't be behind the wheel of the car, but I'd like to see some interesting stories because I always like putting new information up here on these PowerPoints. So I believe that brings us to the end. Remember, Chapter 18, Responsible Driving, deals with alcohol, so do that. Do your articles, and you'll be set for that. I think that's it. I'm glad that I was able to get back online, that you attended, that you signed in, and remember to sign out now on your phone so I know that you're still here. And we'll do it again tomorrow. Remember, one more week to go. And by the way, remember, next week, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, we're not going to have a final on Thanksgiving. So we're moving Thursday's class to Monday, and that's on your sheet. All right? So have a good night, and we'll see some of you tomorrow for driving. Good night.